Prayer means to me that we recognize our need and we want God to intervene in a special situation. And we expect great things because He's a great God.
In 1980, New York Mayor Ed Koch took part in a television program in the midst of a major financial crisis in the city. He had spent more than $250,000 to put bike lanes in Manhattan, which ended up being a complete disaster. Nobody respected the bike lanes, and they hindered traffic flow. Many people were angry with the situation. The journalists wanted to explore the matter as much as possible because the mayor was about to launch his re-election campaign. Therefore, one of the first questions he was asked was, "Mayor, given the financial difficulties of New York, how can you justify spending $300,000 in bike lanes?" This question would set the stage for the next 30 minutes of TV. However, what no one had anticipated was the mayor's response. "It was a bad idea. I thought it would work, but it didn't. It was one of the worst decisions I have ever made." This was his response. No excuses or rumbling. He went straight to the point. In a shuddering voice, the next journalist asked, "But Mayor, how could you do that?" He replied, "I already said it was a dumb idea. It didn't work." There were still 26 minutes left for the program to end, and they had nothing else to ask. The last thing they expected was that the mayor would take responsibility for his actions. Mayor Koch was re-elected with 75% of the votes. Moreover, for the first time in New York City's history, a candidate for mayor received the approval of both the Republican and Democratic parties. The principle is illustrated here is clear. We need to change our attitude about who is in control of our lives. We cannot blame others for what are our failures. We must recognize that we are responsible for the decisions we make. We cannot continue to blame people for circumstances, for our mistakes or sins. When his sin was exposed by the prophet Nathan in 2 Samuel chapter 12, David did not blame Bathsheba or the events. He took responsibility for his actions, and because he recognized his sin and presented himself before God in prayer, he was forgiven and restored. "Against you, you only I have sinned and done what is evil in your sight. So you have a right in your verdict, and you are justified when you judge." It is believed that Psalm 51 is David's prayer to God as he contemplated his sin. This prayer could be divided into 3 prayers or parts. The first would be the prayer of confession from verses 1 to 6. David begins by pleading for compassion, mercy, and divine faithfulness. David had tried to ignore his sin, but nothing passes unnoticed by God, and therefore he needed to confess his sinfulness. The second prayer is found in verses 7 to 12. This is a prayer for forgiveness and restoration. David knows that if it were not by the grace of God, he would not be able to find the peace he so desperately needs. "Hide your face from my sins and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me, O God, a pure heart and renew in me a steadfast spirit." The third and final prayer that is found in verses 13 to 19 is a prayer of gratitude for what God had already done and will do in our life. As he had done for David, God also shows us the path of forgiveness and freedom. Maybe you have ignored the sins you have committed. You may have closed your eyes as if they had never existed. Are you ready to make the prayer of confession? Are you willing to ask for forgiveness and restoration? To thank God for the grace that He made available for you? If that is the case, please talk to Him now. Acknowledge your faults and remember that prayer is the key in the hand of faith to unlock heaven's storehouse, where are treasured the boundless resources of omnipotence.